Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Alt Funds Network podcast series focused on AI. I'm Judith Peterson. I'll be a guest moderator today. I am joined by a panel of experts: Bill Salus, Managing Partner, Paddock Capital Markets; Kumar Ujjwal, CEO and Founder of DwellFi; and Skyler Steinke, Head of Business Development for Trident Trust. Gentlemen, welcome. So, Skyler, I will start with you. As someone who has a history of solving for clients their operational challenges and really understands the life cycle of operations at fund admins and the onboarding, can you give us some trends that you believe will shape fund admins in 2024?
Yes, thank you, Judith. Yeah, there's actually with fund administrators in the last few years, and even for a while, the operational, productivity and scale is really kind of what we sell as a fund administration firm, right? So fund administrators are always looking for ways to enhance their operational workflow, provide a better customer service solution and client service solution for who they represent, fund managers and their underlying LPs. So I'd say the trends going forward are really based around productivity and enhancing that process, providing a great client experience, and with that, focusing on the operational workings of what they do on a daily basis. So technology has always been a challenge for fund administrators, being that it's very much fragmented and siloed, right? So many different tech solutions are out there that they may use, third-party systems and tools, whether it be on the portfolio side, the investor services side, middle office, front, back, all those different siloed data points can be a challenge to bring together a unique operational framework, right? So I'd say that's definitely a big push for fund admins out there to try to differentiate themselves, provide a better process internally so they just don't have to grow from one to one, being that they get a new client on board and now they have to hire new personnel to support that client, right? So really to provide a way to enhance and augment what they do and provide really a truly scalable process, not just a manual process going forward.
So, Kumar, I'll go to you next. As someone with 2 AI patents and 2 successful exits of companies who solved data friction challenges, can you talk to us about how does siloed technology create data friction, and why does data hinder scale and growth for fund admins?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, one of the big problem is, so if you want to increase productivity and it doesn't matter which space you are, data always plays the key role. And especially when you keep the data segregated into multiple silos, it always creates issues when you try to have a like 20,000 feet overview to a granular overview. You will always miss something, and which creates frictions. So generally, it's been like most of the legacy systems, especially if you're looking into the financial systems, still a lot of legacy systems are used. And it's not that the technology is not there and adoption is not. It's just because there's compliance regulations which hinders to adopt new technologies. So that's the reason why you see that. And most in these legacy systems, there's a huge data friction because the way it's designed, your data didn't operate and can't like move from one place to another. There's a lot of data gravity, and these creates issues. So, but good thing is now when you look the way the technology is moving, and especially with the advent of new large language models, which started like everyone seeing the ChatGPT last year when it took the world with surprise and everyone started using it. So there's a mass adoption of that kind of technology. Now it goes into similarly, you'll see this slowly. These new technology will penetrate in the market and will be adopted by AI. Today, if you look at any earning calls, everyone talks about AI because they have to. Otherwise, you will be kept behind. So slowly, this technology will come into this space and then innovate. And a lot of players are working in this space for that.
Great. Bill, as someone who works heavily in M&A and capital transactions, a variety of audiences define and value productivity in different ways. How do you see it from the lens of valuation and from the work that you do?
Sure thing. Thank you, Judith, for having me, and nice to see you, Kumar and Skyler. From our viewpoint, the two most difficult things we see fund administrators challenged with are winning the next deal in the market and hiring the next person. Both of those are extremely cost sensitive and cost burdensome to the administrator's financial position. And at the end of the day, what improves valuations for fund administrators in the market is how financially economic they are on their top and on their bottom line. Alleviating that pressure, offering tools, applications to allow administrators to deal with both of those challenges, to be able to offer more upstream services, to hire better people quicker, faster, and even to deal with their own transaction throughput, will result in a more effective and more attractive bottom line. And at the end of the day, that's what their company is going to be mostly valued on.
So, doing a bit of a deeper dive off of Kumar's answer, how successful are you seeing fund admins adopting data management techniques, since that seems to be very foundational to productivity? Bill, sorry.
Oh yeah, well, it's interesting because it's a bit of a two-edged sword that fund administrators are dealing with. So, they do have the challenge of providing their current suite of fund administration / fund accounting services. But at the same time, they're trying to meet the demands of their GPs and their LPs for more information, quicker, faster, and in different, let's say, methodologies of delivery. At the same time, on top of all that, they're dealing with providing upstream services into the management company of the manager and dealing with more and more applications, data sources, structured and unstructured data, everything imaginable. And so, the adoption rate or the success rate of fund administrators dealing with all of that is a slow go. We would say that it's been accepted and acknowledged that this is not a general ledger centric business anymore, that fund administration in its holistic view is more of a data centric business. And most large administrators and most small administrators, in fact, are either creating or looking for help along these lines with data management applications and partners.
Kumar, I've heard you speak about how AI as a disruptor is very different than a lot of the technology disruption that we've seen. Talk about the life cycle and how you see this as a different kind of disruptor.
Yeah, this is a great question. So if you look at the broad life cycle of mostly innovative technologies, so today what we are seeing is it's called basically a platform shift. So there's three major platform shifts has happened during the last decade, a couple decades actually. So the first one was the dot-com bubble, where you saw like skyrocketing a lot of dot-com bubble companies started coming in. But one thing that happened was quite noticeable is when the market peaked at that time, most of the company was like completely vanished. But the real big companies which you see today, Amazon and all those, slowly started coming after the bubble burst and all those things. So then the second platform shift was the mobile. So in 2007, when Apple launched it, then a lot of adoption started happening on the mobile, and it peaked. But then after a few years, then the bigger mobile apps, like basically the companies like Facebook, and Facebook was web, then moved to mobile, but then Uber and all these companies started. But now this is our shift, third shift, which is the platform shift, is the AI, where everything is moving to AI. But at this time, there's a couple of changes from the last two adoption. What you're seeing today is it's a massive adoption of these applications. And the key reason for that one is the distribution and the technology, both is there. So when the first time it was the internet, which was truly a distribution layer, but it didn't it was not there. So it basically didn't work. Slowly there was adoption. Then the mobile era came. Again, the mobile was the distribution era. Now what we are seeing is already the distribution is there, mobile and internet, basically the web. But the third thing was the technology, key technology, which also at the same time is at the basically at the inflection point. Because up until now, and if you talk about a little bit more about, let's say, the AI cycle, AI revolution, there was like similar three revolution you will see. First, when the truly people started working on the AI, it was more like a decision trees kind of systems where it's logical. Then it slowly moved from there, and there was like the deep learning era started, which was in 2011-12, when people actually truly realized that, okay, you can build these deep neural networks, which will be much more smarter. And then from there, then we are looking at this last shift, which is basically when Google released transformer models, and now we are in the era of large language model, which is basically taking us to AGI. It's going to happen. It's not happening today, but you will soon will get there. But that's where we are shifting. So this is a truly disruptive moment in everyone's lifetime, and the adoption itself can prove that. Nobody has expected that the ChatGPT will have 3 million users or 5 million users in like a day, which was most rapid adoption. So that's this era is completely different than what we have seen in the past.
Skyler, you when you hear that and you hear that there are really no barriers, I guess what are your thoughts in terms of fund admins?
Yeah, number one, that's amazing narrative that's Kumar kind of laid out there. Obviously, there's from admin perspective, there's a lot of applications and integration that you can do to kind of take advantage of what's available. Obviously, there's some challenges because admins are pulled in many different directions. We talked about just the data friction aspects. Different asset classes being thrown their way now, more regulation and things that have to be reported. All those things pull admins in many different directions on an ongoing basis. But now being able to solve for some of those things in real time, some more Bill talked about, more real time reporting, different GPs and LPs are expecting going forward. So use cases, obviously, an investor services process, providing a better client service experience, all goes back to how best you can operate and provide scale in a truly in real time environment, right? Which we really haven't seen yet. We have bits and pieces. I think when you look at admins, they buy technology one to one, solving one problem. They don't look at it holistically, right? They don't look at the entire life cycle of the fund. They see one AML KYC tool, they pick that up, then they buy something else to solve another problem, and then kind of try to stitch everything together. That's been the framework that people have been operating at for a long time. And I think this is really providing a unique, disruptive process in a good way that we can take what's needed because this is everything's moving so much faster right now these days. People are launching funds, providing different technology, modular framework around it to provide real-time reporting to the investors, connect to capital raisers. All these things are happening so fast, and there's probably 700 plus or minus global admins out there trying to take advantage of the next deal, as Bill had mentioned, and how they do they differentiate themselves, how they do better, faster, quicker, and also try to keep up with forecasting and what their entire business is going to look like, right? 6 months from now, a year from now, they're reporting to their stakeholders. So there's a lot of movement in the process. I think it's exciting to see where the use cases will be. Obviously, one being client service, operational productivity and scale from maybe accounting, operations, compliance reporting, monitoring. SLAs as an example is another one where service level agreements have been hard to kind of monitor because it's more of a manual process, right? When there's a lot of data points involved and data being the base layer as we talk about here. Many admins are not prepared for that yet, but they're being pushed in that direction for a lot of reasons.
I happen to think that.
Yeah, I would like to. Yeah,
I'm sorry, I just happen to think that's spot on, Skyler. If you go back to our two tenets of winning the next deal and hiring the next person, winning the next deal is a matter of distinguishing yourself in the marketplace, distinguishing not only your service suite or your scope of things that you can do, but also how you do it. how you're answering questions quicker and faster, whether they're for your operations contacts at your fund manager, whether from the boards, or whether from their LPs, which is, as we all know, is the most important thing. And doing that quicker, faster, better, documentable across a variety of platforms and data sources is going to make you a shining, in our way, very valuable fund administrator that has a higher chance of winning the next deal. But on the hiring side, imagine the work environment improvement. Most of the time, I think workers come into their job and deal, and I think Kumar was alluding to this, are dealing with a work environment a lot less sophisticated than they're dealing at home watching Netflix and playing a game and doing that. So it's a downgrade to go to work. That doesn't engender, not only attracting talent, but keeping talent. So I think the work improvement and the work environment improves with these tools, and of course the efficiency of these tools allows admins to hire a better quality, but maybe hire less of them over time. And I think those 2 points really are supported by what you're saying here.
Kumar, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I was just trying to add a couple of things. Like one, which Skyler was talking about, like how fund administrators and everyone is looking into this new tech, and that's clearly a trend. If you look at the last year, when after the AI was like presented to the world, every big corporation has pledged billions of dollars in this space. Like the good example is PwC. They pledged $2 billion in 2023 to just to invest in the AI space, to how to make their product more and more like entire company and the productivity improvement, because everyone knows this is not like a myth. Now it's there. And then if you don't move forward with this, and if you don't adopt, it's like just a matter of time when you'll be replaced. So it's it's now or never kind of situation for everyone. And second thing is that it's available, but the how to build it. There's a lot of myth around, like, okay, it's hallucinate, how it's not yet ready for the enterprise grade and all those things. But it's just a matter of time. It's the right application and the way to implement this application in enterprise environment. That's where the whole challenge is, and it's been actually deployed, and a lot of corporations are doing it. So it's happening, uh, and you will see a more and more adoption towards this, because it's going to totally change. It's a game changer.
And I think, Kumar, don't you think that these applications also extend to auditability, tracking, tagging of queries and information that's near and dear to a fund servicer, using original documentations, tying them together with external data, and providing answers and solutions at the administrator's fingertips, while at the same time creating a really self-secure, auditable trail of activity. And we think that's a really, really good point. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. That's the whole purpose of like data management and building AI application on top of that. So you can basically serve the customer in a best possible way, but at the same time you have the whole uh, data integrity in your system.
That lends itself nicely to the next question I was going to ask of each of you. What is when you talk about adoption, I know that there's a lot of misinformation out there. So why don't we, I hate to use the word debunk during these times, but um, I'll let you go first, Kumar, because I can tell that you're chomping at the bit on this one. What is a myth or misinformation you would like to debunk, either about AI or data management, or productivity, any of the topics that we talked about today?
Yeah, this I would say it's just a not deep. Basically, it's a kind of like not able to understand the technology in and out, and that's the main reason why people you see these things in the company misinformation, or people getting confused. Okay, when you use the tech, it's taking all your data, it's basically training other models, or there's a hallucination problem in this one. So that's actually, in a sense, if you look from a broader perspective outside, yes, it's kind of true, because if you ask a question to ChatGPT, you'll get some hallucinative answer. And the reason for all these things is not that it doesn't understand this. It's the information overload. It knows too many things. So when you ask some question, it try to make up the whole. The reason why it's called generative AI, because it generates every time something new. It's not the that's the reason why it's called generative AI. So it's creating something new for you when you ask a question by gathering all the information it has. And when it's too many information, then of course it will hallucinate a bit. So ideally, when you build an enterprise application, those things doesn't happen because it's built in a constrained environment, and your data management is done in a constrained environment. So your AI models are trained on your specific data set. It has basically all the bells and whistles for the data integrity. So it understands your privacy models, data privacy, data lineage, everything is built in that place. So now when you put that code, that kind of application, it solves all those problems. So it's the real reason is misinformation is about the education, I would say.
I can't tell who's more excited to answer this question next, Skyler, Bill. I'll let you two duke it out.
Well, I think from I'm not sure this is a debunk, but I'm going to pull up to the auto serve window and buy my AI, self-service, one solves all. I think what's not understood is that in order to introduce AI into an organization, the organization has to embrace a fundamental change management or a change of direction on
Yep.
how its business is run and put together. It's not just something you plug in and it's just going to ferret itself down into the various applications. This is a different way of doing business that ultimately is going to require how every piece of software comes together at a different company, how things are asked and retrieved, and then ideally served up much more efficiently, and to the betterment of the admin at the end of the game. If you think it's just a plug-in, I think what Kumar is trying to allude there, it's not. It really is embraced, and I think managers may say that this is just a kind of a solution that we can go by, when really they have to look inside their organization on what has to change in order to really fully embrace technology that we've really not seen before.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Bill, as far as that goes. And I always say, I think when we first start with a new technology, new framework, if you will, people fight about what it is. That's a lack of knowledge, right? Before they understand what it should do for their business, right? And I think that's really understanding what it is, and then talking about what can it do, what can it solve for your business as a use case, and what you do on a daily basis. So talking about fundamental change, philosophy change in the organization. I think the big misconception out there is, once you deploy AI in your business, then it's hands off, right? No, you still need the human. You need the human expert in the room to guide the process, to provide great insight, data sets into what's happening, to really enhance and use it to its full capability. Otherwise, I think you're really shortchanging yourself to understand kind of what needs to happen in a business. And people always ask, well, people use the term AI all the time. Well, I think you have to focus on what is the business problem I'm solving in my business from a productivity and scale perspective, right? I'm focusing on that and then working backwards. Okay, if it's operations, is it these aspects? Is it, where are we having the fragmentation in our business? Where's the manual ceiling? The ceiling, if you will, of productivity, and how we can reformulate that. Training people in a different way. A lot of people are working remote, and all these different things have actually kind of, from our point of view, the last couple of years have been pretty crazy, right? Because a lot of these things have happened very quickly, and not just from a technology point of view, but how we work and interact with people, whether it be remote work, yep, on a screen. Now we have to, there's hybrid, work where someone goes to the office a few days a week now, trying to keep together the culture of the organization. All these things that we're talking about here are important. how do we best provide a unique framework and utilize AI in whatever, and people say AI, but there's a lot of subsets of AI, but AGI, as Kumar mentioned, or providing a robust process to really where you can truly scale, because that's what fund admin is really. That's the sell of outsourcing fund administration. You're selling scale to a fund manager, right? But the challenge is if you're limited by your own operations, you're also limiting your client too and what they can do from a work perspective. So
and oh, by the way, Skyler, after you figure out the fund admin, they then have to plug into a fund manager and figure out their mess.
Yes.
That's sort of a double challenge. And again, winning that fund
Absolutely.
manager over, as you mentioned, is what makes the world go round in terms of fund administration's growth and appeal.
100%.
Well, thank you, everyone. Really great insights. I really appreciated the opportunity to understand how the data management piece, productivity, and AI all weave together in this space. Appreciate everyone's thoughts, and we'll have contact information for everyone in the feed below. Thank you, everyone.